Okay, we've been busy upgrading our rabbitry since my last video. This is some significant upgrades we've made. I've been building all new cages, and I think you'll like what we've got so far. And we're also getting ready for winter time, so I'll give you some ideas of what to do for that. Show you how we built our cages, and I think they're pretty versatile. I've had to do some things differently than what a lot of other people do, where they use rabbit tractors out on their lawn. I have a really sloped lawn, and so I don't have that capability. I had to build basically a deck and put the my rabbit tractors are fixed, and they just sit on the deck and poop underneath, and then I can just scrape it out and use it in my gardens. But anyways, let me show you what we got here. All right, so one of the things I do is I keep things separated. I have, I call this the nursery up here. So this first section is 6x10 dog kennel that I put a metal roof over the top. And then next door I have my chicken coop. And the chicken coop, I have it another smaller section in there when I get small chicks. When they get about 2 weeks old, I'll put them in that small section and let them, so it's like a smaller chicken coop within the larger one. Right now I've got Rhode Island Reds that are a little bit over 2 months old, and I had to move my older chickens into one of my rabbit hutches because they were picking on the smaller ones. But anyways, this is working pretty good. So let me show you the design I did for my nursery. So since this is a 6x10, I built two 5-foot hutches. And you can see the design of this. Probably need to take the tarp off, but we're kind of winterized right now. Design of this is I used piano hinges on the back so you can lift the lid up, but then I also have a piano hinge on the side. Let's see if I can get it up farther up like this so you can see the whole thing. So this is like one half of the hutch, and then there's another one over here. And you can see I'm loaded with babies with this one right now. So this is my nursery. This one is due in a week, so she's about ready to have a bunch of babies. This is a bigger rabbit, and she had just 2 babies. Believe it or not, they're the same age side by side here, but these are really big in comparison. And then in there, these babies are just a few days old. They're already starting to get some hair. But anyways, the doors, let me show you how this works. I put doors on the front so they can open up. And everything's covered so the food can't get wet. I typically do both here, where I have the water bottles on the outside, but I also use the rubber bowls on the inside. And that just gives some redundancy, especially when you have a bunch of babies. Sometimes the babies will want to use the bottles, and other times they'll drink right out of the water thing like this one is right now. So I try to use both. The other thing I've done is I just did this the other day. I stuck some poles through on the roof, and I've added electric lights. We had a couple nights down in the 40s already, and this helps a lot with the babies. So I've only needed 2 of the 250 watt lights, and they're heat lamps, I should say. And that has worked very well for keeping them warm. Underneath we have these are like concrete mixing trays I got from Home Depot. So I've doubled up on them underneath. And what we do is as we pull out the hay that they've peed and pooped on, we stick it in those trays, and then we end up just dumping them out once a week. The other thing I do is I have a labeling system here. So I bought these little chalk metal plates, and I put, when they're due, when the babies, have a plate for them. And then I also have a dry erase board up here where I have my information for all the mamas and how many babies they had and that kind of thing. I'm also keeping track of my chickens in here and when they're due. I'm also growing some Cornish rocks. I've got a fan in here for the summertime. It's a thermostatically controlled fan, so when it gets to a certain temperature, that'll kick on and keep things cool in here. So that's helped a lot. Now, one of the things that I did is I took the hardware cloth, and this is also called welded wire, and I put that around the bottom 3 foot of this, and then we also put blocks all the way around, and that has kept varmints and stuff from getting in there and causing trouble. I did lose one rabbit to, I think it was a possum or something, and that caused me to upgrade this. In the wintertime with these tarps and everything over it, that seems to cut down a lot of those kinds of issues. So this is my outside setup, and this was just recently upgraded. This was open. I just had shade cloth over the frame, and we went ahead and I ordered roof trusses and metal roofing, and we went ahead and covered the whole thing. But this is where, when they get about a month old or so, I move the mamas and the babies out here for a few more weeks. I keep the mamas at least 6 weeks together with the babies, and then I'll rebreed the mama and move her back in the nursery. But what I do is I build the whole thing out of pressure treat, but the animals can't get to the pressure treat at all because I put the wire on the inside, and I built these in panels. So these are 3 foot by 8 feet long, and you can see that these are out of, they call them 2x2s, but they're 1 1/4. You see the size of that. And so this is one panel here. This is another panel. There's another one on the side in the end, and then on the bottom is another panel. And then it's got a piano hinge on the back, so this whole thing lifts up. And the nice thing about this design is you can divide this many different ways. So right now this is divided in 2 because I'm going to have a mama with 9 babies over here, and eventually when those babies grow up I'll remove the divider, but I'm going to put another mama over here with 6 babies on the other side. And you can also, if you look a little farther back there, you can see that one's divided by 3. And so, you know, I've got 4 bunnies in this one that are about ready to be processed. There's 3 in this one that are about a month younger. And then this one's empty. For the males, you can walk down. I currently have 4 males, and I have them divided in here. So I divided that one by 4. So this is very functional. These were some of the earlier designs, and I actually split these in half so it's easier. You don't have to lift the whole panel up, and so you can get to both sides. And right now, you know, basically when they poop, it just falls right down to the bottom, and it's really easy to rinse everything out and keep things super clean. The other feature I've done, I got to do the same to that one up there, but you'll notice that I've wrapped plastic around the sides. So as we get into the winter time, that's going to keep, at least they can get back in the corners, and it can be comfortable. For the really young rabbits, I've taken totes, and I just cut a little hole, turn it upside down. I'll put hay in the bottom, and that becomes a little smaller hutch for them to get inside there. So this one's still just a little bit young to be without any kind of place, but we're going to get down into near freezing this coming week, so I'll start getting hutches out here for all of them, the totes, for them to stay in. But you know, some of these males are pretty good size. Yeah, look at that guy. He's really nice. So anyways, what I've done, because of the slope here for that upper level, I had to build a retaining wall so I'd have, you know, at least some amount of flat area to build my nursery in. And then I compensated for the rest of this, where if you look over to the side, you can see how sloped this is in that yard. Now this is another 10 by 10 dog kennel that I put a metal roof on just recently, and this is where I'm growing out my Cornish cross. And so I started them with the 100-gallon 2x4 round water tanks that you can get from your feed store. And we just put the food containers and the had heat lamps like we have in here over that. And then so I'd bring in 20 at a time, and they'd start with one tank for the first week, and then I'd split them up 10 in each tank for the second week. And then after that I moved them out into that 10 by 10 building, and they moved into the small chicken coop. And then after a couple more weeks, then I move them out here. So these guys are approaching, I think they're a little bit over 4 weeks old, so they still have 4 more weeks, and then they'll be ready to be processed. This is my third run of the chickens, and filling my freezer with these before winter. Just learning how to do this. Otherwise I would have started with small. I started with like 8 the first time, and then 10 the next, and then I went ahead and bought 20. But this is a little late to be running these, because you'd rather not run heat lamps if you can afford it. But they seem to be happy, healthy, and they're eating like crazy. So I'm happy with the way this is working. But let me turn over this way so you can see my deck, the amount of room we have here. So as the poo collects, I can scrape it out and then just use it in my garden. For this one that's up here at the top where I put it on stilts, I'm going to use that same tray solution. I got to get a few more trays, and I'll collect it from there, and then I can clean that out, weekly basis, and keep it from getting too bad. But anyways, there's a lot of different ways to accomplish, growing food for yourself, at least meat. I've got a nice garden up front that's doing really well, but my wife absolutely loves this now, because we're not coming out here and the food's not all getting wet like it used to when it rained. And so this is like the ultimate. I think the rabbits are asking for hot tubs and wet bars now, but they're just gonna have to get over it. Their food, right? All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know what you think in the comment section, and subscribe. I'll try to put something up about once a week. I'm starting to do some how to cook gluten-free type food, because that's something that I've had to change how I eat. And I use kind of some 2 or 3 generation old recipes that we've passed down from generation, and so you might get a kick out of some of those. All right, well, good luck. God bless.